Before you start a Shibari session, it's essential to negotiate what you and your partner want to experience. Clear communication ensures safety, it builds trust, and it allows both partners to enjoy the session with confidence. To make sure that nothing is forgotten, I use the word Shibari as a memory aid, or as we say in Germany, a donkey's bridge, where each letter represents a topic that I want to cover during the negotiation. Safety, hands, intention, body, aftercare, restrictions, and intoxication. And of course, you can discuss these topics in the order of the acronym, but this might not always feel natural. I personally think negotiation should more flow like a conversation rather than being a checklist. Also, the discussion will depend on whether you already know the person, or are you tying with them for the first time, whether they are experienced or maybe about to experience their first Shibari session ever. Personally, what I do, I quickly run through the Shibari acronym in my head before starting. So I remind myself of all the topics and I decide which one is a good topic to start with, which feels good in this situation and for this person. Then at the end, after the negotiation, I revisit the acronym and make sure that I didn't miss anything that I wanted to talk about. So let's look at the Shibari topics in detail. If someone is inexperienced with Shibari, it's very crucial to remind them that Shibari is never 100% safe. I often use the metaphor of riding a bike, where you can ride a bike as safe as possible by wearing a helmet or making sure to not cross any red lights, but also here you're never 100% safe, and the same obviously goes for Shibari. Also, if people have only very little experience, I usually treat them in the negotiation as if they had zero experience. This just makes sure that everything is explained well and they can give an informed consent. You should discuss possible risks and injuries and how to and ways to avoid them. Also, this is a good moment to talk about a safe word and to talk about how you want to communicate, maybe with a red, yellow, green system or any other communication that is good with you, and maybe also to agree on some non-verbal signs if anything goes wrong, the person feels unwell. Also, and this is a good situation to ask yourself, am I feeling safe to tie with that person? This goes obviously for the model as well as for the rigger. And you could ask yourself also, am I being a safe person right now to tie with? And what I always use for myself to check in with that, if I'm not feeling confident to operate a chainsaw, I would not feel confident to tie someone, let alone to suspend them. For example, if I'm tired or also if I'm angry, or any other reasons could occur if you're under the influence of any mind-altering substances, for example. To avoid nerve damage, check the hands regularly during the session. Decide with your partner whether they want to check their own hands or if you should also check them from time to time. If they're inexperienced, you should explain the difference between numbness from blood restriction, which is usually soft tingling that goes away after a while, and usually covers the whole hand, whereas numbness from nerve issues is often sharp. Some people describe it as electric or even burning. And very important, it usually covers only a small part of the hand, for example, this area at the pinky or at the thumb. This should be taken very, very seriously because nerve damages can last up to several months, where you, for example, in worst case, can't be able to move your hands for quite a while. Also, you can teach them how to perform hand checks, where you place your finger in their hands and tell them to grab your finger with as much strength as possible. A weak grip or even an inability to close the hand is a severe sign that something may be wrong and needs immediate attention. Also, you could tell them to press their thumb against your thumb and the same in this direction. Talk about what you want from the session. Is it playful, sensual, meditative, challenging, sexual? Should the mood be soft and loving or more rough and intense? Is it more about practicing technique or about emotional connection? Also, you should talk about activities that you may want to include, such as breath play or hair ties, crotch rope, and of course check in if they are okay with them or not. Clear intentions help align expectations and avoid misunderstandings. You should definitely discuss physical and mental considerations, joint or nerve issues, especially in the shoulders if you want to suspend them, in the hips, in the knees, any nerve issues they had in the past or recently, any other injuries, chronic pain, also the mental and the emotional state that the person is in, and anything else that might affect tying, for example, medications, fatigue, or triggers. This helps you to adapt your tying to the body of your partner and keep them safe. Aftercare is how you help each other come back to a grounded state after the session. Some people like cuddling, blankets, water, maybe a piece of chocolate. Others may need some space and quiet. If your partner doesn't know what they want, you could offer them options. For example, you could offer them to lie next to them silently until they are ready to talk or until they seek physical connection to you. What I always do and what I recommend is to always do a quick check-in right after untying them to confirm that they are okay before moving into aftercare. Here you cover limits and no-go zones, specific things they do not want, for example, face rope, crotch rope, certain ties, any emotional, psychological or physical boundaries. If your partner is inexperienced, they might be unsure what to expect, and you can support them by helping them to create a risk profile. That means instead of focusing on listing every possible technical detail or rope-related risk, a risk profile allows to think about their boundaries more in terms of outcomes. For example, rather than saying, I do not want to tie my hands to be tied in a certain way, they might say, I don't want to lose sensation in my hands, or I want to avoid any injuries that could affect my ability to work as a piano player, for example. Framing the conversation this way gives inexperienced partners a clearer picture of what matters most to them, even if they don't yet know the technical names for ties or risks. It also helps you as a rigger to make informed decisions about which techniques are appropriate and which ones should be avoided. This helps avoid unpleasant surprises and keeps the session consensual. Very important at this point to be rather safe than sorry. There's a good rule of thumb I live by, and this is very easy. For me, everything other than a yes is a no. So that means a maybe is a no for now. I'm not sure is a no. Maybe not is definitely a no. And of course, no is a no. So only a yes is a yes. I have really good experiences with that, because usually after a session, let's say, for example, this person tells you they don't want to be suspended. And after the session, they are like, damn it, I wish I had let you suspend me. They will regret it for a moment, and then they will move on with their lives. Whereas the other way around, they're like, I'm not sure, but yeah, okay, let's do it. And then you suspend them, they realize it's not for them, they never wanted it, and things can happen, like traumatizing them, and this weighs so much heavier than the other way around. So for me, only a yes is a yes, and if someone is unsure about anything, then we can always postpone it to maybe another session, or if it doesn't happen at all, it doesn't happen at all. Also very important to mention in this situation that a boundary that was communicated before the session stays a boundary throughout all the session. Do not renegotiate mid-session, because people are in an altered kind of state of mind, and this can reach some states that are hypnosis-like. And people might agree to something that they regret later. So rather than changing boundaries within the session, postpone this to the next session and then negotiate it before the next session, of course. And this is crucial to discuss, especially when you're tying with a new partner, or when you are meeting people on a play party, in a club or something. You should make sure that your partner is not under the influence of alcohol or any other mind-altering drugs, because first of all, their consent could be compromised. Then second one, also their judgment of what is okay, and to check in on their hands and nerves could be also compromised if something happens, and they will have maybe severe damage with that. You probably will wonder for a long time, or even for the rest of your life, if this could have been avoided if you would have not consumed anything before the session. The Shibari framework is meant as a guide, not as a rigid rule book. You can adapt it to your own style and your partner's needs. What matters most is creating a space where you and your partner feel informed, respected, and ready for the experience ahead. Use the acronym first as a guide for your conversation, and then run through the checklist in your head before you begin your session. This helps ensure you've covered everything, and then you can start the session with confidence and mutual understanding.